British and American bombers are pounding German cities day and night. Adolf Hitler authorizes a top-secret project. Hide a vast fortune in gold that the Nazis have stolen from the nations they've conquered and from the millions they've murdered. As the war ends, rumors spread that millions of dollars of Nazi gold lie buried throughout Central and Eastern Europe.
Could those rumors have been true?
There has been a frenzy of activity in Poland after the supposed discovery of a Nazi treasure train.
Was there an underground Nazi El Dorado? And is some of Hitler's lost treasure still waiting to be found?
Just the kind of questions we love. We're hunting for the truth behind some of history's most bizarre cases. The mysteries of World War II. I'm a historian. I search for clues in the records of the past.
That's amazingly heavy.
I'm an urban explorer. I look for the real in what seems unreal, and follow my hunches wherever they lead me.
Oh, whoa. Someone's gone through a lot of trouble to make this place.
It's about to get really, really weird as we follow a trail of stolen billions in search of Hitler's lost gold.
Most World War II mysteries are buried in the history books. But every now and then, one of them goes primetime.
There has been a frenzy of activity in Poland after the supposed discovery of a Nazi treasure train that went missing in 1945.
Ever since the end of World War II, there have been these weird rumors that there's a fortune in Nazi gold hidden somewhere in Europe. A fortune some lucky treasure hunter might find someday. What if those rumors were true? How cool would that be? Sam and I are in Poland to hunt for Nazi gold.
What is this place?
Well, in Polish it's called Kosiąż Castle, but the Germans called it Schloss Fürstenstein. This whole area was actually in Germany at the beginning of the war, even though we're in Poland now, and it became a really important site for the Nazis. In 1943, the Allies really started a massive bombing attack on Germany. It was really affecting their cities and their ability to produce munitions for the war. Hitler was desperate to find a solution, and what he did was order the construction of a load of underground complexes for war production. And this castle was going to be the entrance to one of these underground systems.
Okay, so the entire place isn't just all Grand Budapest Hotel. Hey, I think I found the entrance to the back cave.
The lift shaft.
These must go down, yeah?
That's going to be the next place to explore. But there are so many of them, I think we're going to have to split up.
The tunnels under Kosiąż Castle are 160 feet underground. Records of this tunnel network didn't survive the war, leading to plenty of speculation that not all the tunnels have been found. And that hidden somewhere down here is a freight train loaded with Nazi gold.
I'm inside the tunnel system underneath this castle, and it's full-on Goonies cavern style in here. But you can see just how foggy and cold it is in here. This is all hacked up by hand. Oh, whoa. Someone's gone through a lot of trouble to make this place.
The scale of this place shows it wasn't meant to hold only people.
It's an entire complex down here. This is meant for vehicles. or specifically a train tunnel.
While RJ is going deep on his own, I'm going to learn about these tunnels from a local expert. What an amazing place this is.
You know, the truth is that we believe that those tunnels you see are not everything what is here. We call it Riese. It's a name code for underground Nazi project made in 1943 to 1945. We have 7 underground complexes, 7 so big as that one.
7? What was it used for?
The purpose of this project is unknown just because of lack of documentation. Some sources suggest that it could be military factories. Some that a part of headquarters of Hitler, and some say about magical German weapon. You know, flying saucers and things like that. We have a lot of legends about treasures hidden in those undergrounds.
What do you think about the idea of this gold train hidden down here somewhere?
I think it's impossible. I wish we had a gold train here. It would be a great treasure.
Joanna told me that the gold train legend and World War II history don't match up. The legend claims that the lost gold train left the Polish city of Wrocław in April 1945 and disappeared. But Joanna explained that in April 1945, Wrocław was surrounded by Soviet troops and that no train, not even a car full of gold, could have escaped. But since the end of the war, the historical record hasn't stopped people around here from searching for a lost gold train.
How did you first hear about this gold train?
There was a Pole that came to Wałbrzych to work here, and he was pushing the rail cars there to this sidetrack. And he was curious because there was a wall here. What's behind the wall? So he climbed, and from there he saw that behind the wall there were 2 rail cars, one next to the other.
Can you show us the maps?
Here is a tunnel, and what we have here is concealed. And here was a sidetrack to Książ Castle.
All very interesting. But if Tadeusz knows where the gold train is, what's stopping him from finding it?
At the beginning we did some test digging, and I had a group of guys. We started to dig there. So we dug. First day, second day, and on the third day, 3 men came and they told us to stop. And we were very close to the concealed tunnel.
So now we have what seems like a case of history versus conspiracy theory. Joanna says there's no Nazi gold train hidden around here. Tadeusz says there is, and that he would have found it if mysterious thugs hadn't stopped him. And what's really interesting is that in this story, the rumors can bear an uncanny resemblance to the facts.
In May 1945, American troops in Austria seized a 24-car freight train on its way from Hungary to Germany. That train was packed with Nazi loot. Gold, diamonds, gems, pearls, silverware, and art, estimated to be worth over $4 billion in today's money. You can see why some people could believe in a lost Nazi gold train. We need to get to the bottom of this. If there is a gold train buried around here, we'll need some hard science to find it.
I'm meeting 2 professors from AGH University of Science and Technology at a place just a few miles from the castle, rumored to be just above one of Project Riese's tunnels. In 2015, 2 treasure hunters announced that using ground-penetrating radar, they'd found the buried gold train under this spot.
Since the war, there has been a hypothesis that the train entered the tunnel here.
The local government asked Professor Made and his team to find out if what the treasure hunters claimed was true. These guys are experts in using ground-penetrating signals to find large, buried objects.
So, Professor, is there a gold train here?
The magnetic surveys have decisively proven that there is no train here. The size of the signal that we registered here was definitely too small. The train should have given a much bigger signal. Using this method, we can explicitly say there's no train here.
Bummer. According to science, the lost Polish gold train isn't here. But that doesn't mean there's no hidden Nazi gold out there. Maybe Sam and I are just looking in the wrong place. Maybe we need to go back to the beginning of the Nazi gold trail. As they say, follow the money.
RJ and I are looking into one of the most tantalizing mysteries of World War II. During the war, the Nazis stole billions in European gold. Is some of that gold still hidden underground? The Nazi gold trail begins in 1938, when Hitler's armies marched into Czechoslovakia and Austria. The Nazis made off with nearly 2 billion of today's dollars in Czech and Austrian gold. Germany's neighbor Poland watched this looting of two sovereign nations' treasuries with alarm. The Poles feared they'd be next. Did the Polish have a plan for when the Nazis came?
Poland was preparing for the war many months earlier. Bank Polski had an evacuation plan for the gold, as it was the biggest and most valuable resource in the bank's possession. Poland had around 80 tons of gold. Today, that is over $3 billion US. When it became obvious that the war would break out, Bank Polski's employees, the whole board, decided to prepare the gold for evacuation.
On September the 1st, 1939, the Nazi army smashed into Poland.
World War II began when Germany invaded Poland. Poland's military were no match for Hitler's massive assault. In less than a month, Nazi armies were closing in on Warsaw. If Poland was to save its gold reserves, there wasn't a moment to lose.
The decision was made to move the gold to Romania. There, the quick decision was made to move it further. They managed to put it onto a British tanker ship and move it to Turkey. Thanks to the cooperation of France, the decision was made to evacuate the gold to France through Syria and Lebanon.
After France fell to Hitler in 1940, Poland's gold had to keep moving to stay one step ahead of the war. The Polish government in exile moved it to West Africa, and finally to Canada. Is the movement of the gold well documented? Do you think that there's any missing?
Absolutely not. No bar got lost during the war. We have a lot of records in Bank Polski's archives that document the whole story very well.
The Polish government moved its country's entire gold supply halfway around the world just to keep it from falling into Nazi hands. As the war spread into Western Europe, other threatened countries like Norway, France, and the Netherlands tried to evacuate their own gold reserves. Some 2,500 tons of gold from European treasuries made it safely into Canadian bank vaults. But Hitler did get his hands on more than 8 billion of today's dollars in gold from the bank vaults of Nazi-occupied Europe. And that wasn't nearly enough for him.
wenn es dem internationalen Finanzjudentum in und außerhalb Europas gelingen sollte, die Völker noch einmal in einen Weltkrieg zu stürzen, dann wird das Ergebnis nicht die Bolschewisierung der Erde und damit das Sieg des Judentums sein, sondern die Vernichtung der jüdischen Rasse in Europa.
The next steps on the Gold Trail are not for the timid. They lead to a place of unimaginable evil. Auschwitz. Today, in every language, the name means horror. First built in 1940 to hold Polish political prisoners, it soon became Hitler's slaughterhouse. In 1942, the Nazis began what they called the final solution, the annihilation of Europe's Jews. The Nazis shipped 1.3 million people to Auschwitz. By the end of the war, more than 1 million of them had died. That's nearly 250,000 more than all the British and American soldiers killed in World War II.
I've seen the name Batsheva Dagan online. She's 90 years old, one of the few Auschwitz survivors still alive. The Nazis murdered her parents and older sister and moved her between 6 different prison camps during the war. I need to know what she witnessed in this place.
My last prison was Auschwitz. I didn't know anything about Auschwitz. Only one thing, that you get in, but you never get out. We had no protection, no security. No word for this term in any dictionary. We are stripped of all dignity, victims of man's inhumanity.
In Auschwitz, Batsheva was assigned to a unit known as Canada, which sorted possessions stolen from murdered prisoners. The unit's warehouse was deliberately located next to the crematorium.
Canada, because Canada is a country of affluence. Canada was what we called the place where we sorted into piles the clothes and possessions of those who were sent to the gas chambers.
One of Canada's most important duties was to search the clothing of the dead for eyeglasses, watches, and jewelry, anything made of gold. A grim task, but another was even worse.
Rings, earrings. I found gold rings, but I didn't find gold tooth, because this was something which the Sonderkommando, the commando which burned bodies, they took out the gold.
What Batsheva saw was the first step of a clockwork operation, personally ordered by SS commander Heinrich Himmler. The systematic looting of gold from the teeth of the millions he murdered. At Auschwitz and other concentration camps, prisoners who'd once been dentists were ordered to extract gold-filled teeth from bodies pulled from the gas chambers. SS officers collected the harvested teeth, sometimes in discarded empty cans of Zyklon B, the gas used to kill prisoners. In a secret lab, forbidden even to the SS, Nazi dentists removed any tissue and bone from the fillings and weighed their gold to determine its value. The cleaned fillings were sent in absolute secrecy to Berlin. Hundreds of pounds of gold per month. Thousands of pounds of gold per year. An estimated 17 tons of gold by the end of the war.
Ultimately delivered to this man, Walter Funk, head of the Reichsbank, Nazi Germany's central bank, appointed by Hitler himself. After the war, Allied prosecutors at the Nuremberg war crimes trials grilled Funk about the enormous gold deposits that had led some to call him the banker of gold teeth.
Nein, ich betrachte mich nicht als Millionenmörder. Über die Riesensummen, die hier genannt sind, wusste ich nichts. Wusste nur, dass Devisen abgeliefert wurden. Are you sure you were in the Reichsbank in these days? Jawohl.
The Allies didn't buy Funk's claim that he was out of the loop. They sentenced him to life in prison for filling Hitler's coffers with stolen Jewish gold. But shipments of gold fillings just don't turn magically into bankable bars of bullion. There must have been others involved.
Let's go to Germany.
Yeah. Frankfurt is modern Germany's financial heart. We've come here to find out more about the gold the Nazis stole from their concentration camp victims. It was sent for smelting to a Frankfurt chemicals company called Degussa. Degussa later sold its precious metals business. Its chemicals business is now held by Evonik Industries, whose company archives hold the old Degussa files.
So this is one of the books from the Frankfurt refinery. And what I can show you here is the month is July 1940.
I see. It's so meticulously recorded, isn't it?
It is. So you can see here, this is where the gold came from, the gold and silver. This means it came from Berlin. And it was a special transport. That means it was Jewish gold, Juden gold.
It turns out that Hitler was stealing Jewish gold long before the Holocaust. In November 1938, his stormtroopers attacked Jews and Jewish property all across Germany. German streets were covered with glass from smashed Jewish shop windows, giving this Nazi atrocity the name of Kristallnacht, Crystal Night, or the Night of Broken Glass. Thousands of businesses and synagogues were destroyed, and 25,000 Jewish men rounded up and sent to concentration camps. Unbelievably, the Nazis then demanded that the Jews themselves pay for the damage, leading to what the Nazis called the Precious Metal Campaign, the seizure of Jewish property.
And then you can see the weight before melting and after melting, and how much it contained of silver, of gold, and platinum.
And do we know from these records exactly how much gold and silver was processed?
We don't know exactly, because we don't have all the files. A lot of them have been destroyed. But what we know is that in the precious metal campaign, they processed 1,200 kilograms of gold and 130 tons of silver.
Wow.
According to a Holocaust historian, all the Jewish gold smelted at Degussa was deposited in a top-secret SS Reichsbank account, known as the Melmer account.
So the Melmer account, that was a bank account opened by one of the senior officers of the Reichsbank. In the Reichsbank, the SS were in charge of the concentration and death camp, and it was an account that was used by the SS to channel the loot.
And how much gold are we talking about? I mean, is there a figure that we can put on it?
76 transports were made to the so-called Melmer account. The records of the Reichsbank, that have been found and studied by the American finances officers, and they found out that these Melmer accounts, received $14.5 million, of course, the value of 1946, which amount to $192.5 million today's value.
The Melmer account was the final stop on the trail of death camp gold. What once had been eyeglasses, watches, jewelry, and dental fillings belonging to millions of human beings was now nearly $200 million worth of gold bullion. locked in Adolf Hitler's bank vaults, with the $8 billion in gold looted from conquered nations. But what were the Nazis planning to do with all that gold?
What exactly did they need the gold for?
Reichsmark, which was the currency of Germany at that time, the Reichsmark was a weak money that has been constantly devaluated throughout the 1930s. So Germany was stocking gold because gold was at that time the counterpart, the guarantee of the money. They did not have enough gold, the money was even more threatened, was not stable.
So that was it. For all their displays of power, the Nazis needed gold because they were dead broke. In the 1930s, Germany had been devastated by the Great Depression. Her currency had become next to worthless. Hitler traded his stolen gold for Swiss francs and spent those to finance his war against the world. A war that wound up costing Nazi Germany more than $2 trillion in today's US dollars. And here's what's even more mind-blowing. When Germany lost the war in 1945, the Reichsbank's books still showed deposits of more than $250 million in gold. Where did all that gold go in the final days of the war? Trying to find the truth behind legends of lost Nazi gold hasn't been easy. There's plenty of evidence that the Nazis were stealing billions in bullion from looted bank vaults across Europe, and from the pockets and even the teeth of the millions they murdered. The stolen gold was sent to metal refineries in Germany and smelted into gold bullion, which was deposited in Nazi Germany's central bank, the Reichsbank. Even in the final months of the war, records show that the Reichsbank still held some 255 million of today's US dollars in gold. But when the Soviets captured Berlin in April 1945, they found only a few million in the Reichsbank's nearly empty vaults. So where was the rest of that 255 million in Nazi gold? Historian Jean-Marc Dreyfus told me to check out this place, the Merkers Mine in central Germany.
All right, heading down the elevator shaft into Merkers Mine. This is the first time I've gone down one of these things outside of a video game. Yeah, I've had my ears pop about 3 times already. So we're going down really deep, really fast. All right, it looks like we're at the bottom here now. So how far down are we?
We are now below ground, round about 420 meters.
At Merkers, Germany, this salt mine holds one of the strangest secrets of the war.
On April 7th, 1945, the U.S. Third Army captured the Merkers Mine and found something beyond imagination.
This room was full of those boxes and bags and so on. In those boxes, for instance, had stored gold and silver coins of the National Mint in Berlin.
The Merkers Mine held most of the Reichsbank's gold deposits. In 1945, as Allied bombs rained down on Berlin, Reichsbank gold bars were loaded onto trains and sent south to the safest parts of the Reich. Bavaria and Thuringia home of the Merkers mine. The perfect place for stashing Hitler's gold.
This mine was chosen to hide gold and valuables because it was dry. It was safe in the middle of Germany, far beside the bombardment in Berlin. This time they thought that it would be possible to overcome also the enemy access to this mine by closing the shafts, by blasting them. They made a brick wall because behind there's another room there. And this was similar to this, what the American soldiers found. Here was an armored door, steel door, a massive door. Yeah. And behind it, there was a gold room.
This is about 2 meters of solid brick.
The brick is very massive here, and therefore they had to use a lot of explosives to blast a hole into the brick wall.
I mean, they basically built a bank vault in the middle of this salt mine.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was something like the German Fort Knox.
I'll say it was. Inside the Merkers mine, the Americans reportedly found nearly $240 million in gold. But hang on, 255 million on the Reichsbank's books, minus nearly 240 million in the Merkers mine, still leaves about $15 million in Nazi gold unaccounted for. This is when things get really weird. As the war in Europe ended, Allied troops all across Europe found stashes of gold. Buried in mines, submerged in rivers and lakes, hidden under battlefields, and even in the death camps. And that's when the rumors of lost treasure began.
As far as we know, there are some rumors saying that some portions of this gold had also been transported to Austria to be hidden there on the German-Austrian border.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, what'd you get?
So Merkers mine was the definitive gold stash, but, you know, rumors continue about where the gold would pop up. You can see why the rumors of a gold train headed off to Poland had such a draw. I've also heard of some gold that made its way over to the Austrian border, so I think we should meet there.
Or I should go and find a historian who may have done some research. Okay, see ya.
While Sam is finding someone who can tell us what was happening, I'm going to find someone who can show us where to look. Bingo. Here's a guy who searches for Nazi gold near the German-Austrian border. This is going to be so cool. I always wanted to hunt for buried treasure.
This is the command center. This is where all the magic happens.
Yes, that's true. Here we are doing our plannings for our trips and search expeditions.
Jürgen Pruska is a treasure hunter. He and his sidekick Andy have found some seriously cool stuff from Germany's ancient past.
This is Bronze Age. These are Roman coins, also Celtic coins. These are the most valuable things you can find, gold coins. You can bite on it and you feel it's smooth, it's soft. Not like metal normally.
People actually bite into it? I thought that was like a cartoon thing.
Roman gold coins can be worth a pretty penny. But it's Hitler's lost gold that keeps Jürgen hunting and hoping.
When we are hunting for the Reichsbank treasure, we always find World War II relics. This is a helmet of the Wehrmacht, a soldier's helmet. And we find, for example, gas masks.
What about this? This looks pretty serious.
This is what we're looking for. This is a gold bullion, 1 kilo, fine gold, which means it's the highest quality of gold, and it's a copy of those bars who came to Garmisch-Partenkirchen and to Mittenwald.
Okay, so this isn't real.
No, it isn't real. I'm sorry. And
I hope we'll find it soon, a lot of them, and good hidden in a good quality. Billions which reached.
And Jürgen's not just blowing smoke. He's got records from the end of the war, which reveal that 730 bars of Reichsbank gold wound up here in Mittenwald, in the possession of Colonel Franz Pfeiffer, commander of a local unit of mountain troops.
So what happened to all that stuff?
It was this kind of the area here, where it was transported to and hidden, because it's a mountain troopers training area and it was forbidden for Germans to enter. So the mountain troopers could hide it wherever they want.
After the war ended, American troops found most of Colonel Pfeiffer's stash of gold, but they didn't find it all.
They are still missing 200 kilos of these listings.
Show me how you look for these. Show me the process.
Jürgen and Andy are going to teach me to be a treasure hunter. This is going to look so good on my resume.
While RJ's learning how to search for Nazi gold, I'm trying to find out more about where the Nazis hid it. What did the Germans do with the gold that was in Berlin when they realized that they were losing the war?
The gold reserves and other things transport to mostly Reichsbank branches in Thuringia and Saxony and also some parts of Bavaria.
It's obviously a significant logistical challenge to move so much gold so far.
By train and also by car, and it took several weeks to bring it to Thuringia, but also afterwards further on to Bavaria.
According to Dr. Bunken, most of the gold evacuated from Berlin was stashed in the Merkers mine. But some never made it there. What happened to the rest of it?
Well, the rest of the gold reserves went to different places in southern Germany and Thuringia and Saxonia. Not every one of these transport to these different places is very well documented. One case was the gold transport which was going to Munich and afterwards to Mittenwald near the Alps.
Now this is getting really interesting. The Nazis were moving gold around Germany in the dying days of the Third Reich. Some of that gold didn't wind up in the huge stash the Allies seized at the Merkers mine. It could still be out there. I think it's time for me to join RJ at Mittenwald and get my own metal detector. Oh, I got something.
Following the trail of Hitler's lost gold has led us across Central Europe to Mittenwald on the German-Austrian border, where the Allies found a Nazi gold stash after the war ended. And the evidence suggests they didn't find it all. So with the help of local treasure hunter Jürgen Proska and his partner Andy, Sam and I are going to see what we can find.
What is this place? It looks like a shallow grave.
It was a grave, but a grave of gold. They hid at the end of the war 728 gold bars in this hole, about 3 tons of gold, which were placed here from Berlin, from the Reichsbank, coming down, and the mountain troopers hide it in this hole.
Where is it now? I can see there's nothing in there.
The Americans catched one of the troopers, and so he made confession where the gold is. 1 month after the hiding, they drove up here and get the gold out of the hole.
But over 400 pounds of gold the American troops didn't find might be right under our feet.
Well, color coordination would dictate you use this one.
I want the lucky one. Jürgen explained the rules of the treasure hunting game. First of all, we wouldn't be doing this if we hadn't already been given permission from the Bavarian State Forestry Division. If we're lucky enough to find a piece of World War II gold, the gold must be returned to its rightful owner and will be rewarded with a 3 to 5% finder's fee. But if the owner can't be identified, the value of the gold will be split between the finder and the owner of the land where the gold was found.
Well, I'm ready.
I got something.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, I don't think we have to dig. It's up there.
Look at that. Just on the surface. That is a bit of chain.
Is it made of gold?
It's not made of gold, but it was definitely securing a box that was full of gold. So I win.
Whoa, not so fast. As we say in baseball, it ain't over till it's over.
I'm getting readings of 91, 84, 94.
Let's see what you got
here. I'm not seeing anything.
Oh, here it is. Yeah. Ah, it's ammunition part of
it.
Yeah.
Good find, huh?
That is clearly a spent bullet casing.
It is, isn't it? And that's it's all part of the story. So that must have been part of the ammunition dump that the mountain rangers cleared out so they could put the cash up in that bunker. That's fantastic.
I'm getting high 70s. It was in the 80s earlier, so this looks promising. Ugh. This thing's massive.
What do you got?
I found an axe head.
Look at that.
That's full on.
That could have been used for digging out the hole.
Yes, that must have been it. All right, that was a lot of work, but I guess you'd be hard-pressed to say we found Hitler's lost gold.
But someday, maybe someone will. Because no one really knows how much Nazi gold is still out there. At the end of World War II, the U.S. Army reported it found more than 98% of the gold reserves listed in Reichsbank records. But in the chaos of defeat and the mayhem of total destruction, millions of dollars in gold simply disappeared. The Americans never knew how much gold ended up in the parts of Germany that fell under Soviet control. And remember that Nazi train full of gold the Americans captured in 1945? Well, much of its treasure vanished while in American custody and has never been seen again. And despite our treasure hunting prowess, Mint Vault's missing gold is still missing. It's been estimated that at least half a ton of Nazi gold is still unaccounted for. No wonder that people in Poland never stopped believing in their lost gold train. And if you've been thinking they're after fool's gold, think again.